What if I told you the secret to getting back into great shape in 2025 had very little to do with perfecting your training and nutrition plan and everything to do with upgrading the way that you think? My name is Brian Pickowitz. I'm one of the head coaches here at the Fitness Project, and today I want to give you 4 mindset shifts that you must make this New Year's if you finally want to get into shape and make fitness a permanent part of your lifestyle going forward. Now, as we dive in, let me know in the comment section which mindset shift is the most important for you to focus on this New Year's, and also give this video a thumbs up if you feel like it's really useful. Now, as we talk about mindset shift, it's really important to understand that yes, strategy does matter. We do need to know how to train, how to eat right, what is the right approach for our plan to get results. But the truth is, if information was enough, everyone would be in great shape because there's so much knowledge out there about what to do. In fact, Lindsay and I have made countless videos on this channel about the right way to train, the right way to eat. How do you make sure that your body is fueled properly in order for you to get results? The problem is that if we do not have the right mindset, then the strategy is useless. In fact, if you're someone who has struggled to maintain your fitness and you're someone who struggles with gaining and losing the same 15 to 20 pounds over and over again, it's probably a sign that your mindset needs to change. Or if you're someone who feels like this is something that you just can't master, it's most often the case that your strategy is not the problem. It's the way that you're thinking. And so when we talk about what is the first mindset shift that we must make this New Year's, well, we have to first decide to become a fit and healthy person. Now, this is different than the way that most people focus on their health. A lot of people do a diet or they do a plan. They tell themselves they're doing the 21-day fix. They're doing the whole 30. They're going to give themselves a month of eating right to see how it works. And oftentimes when you talk to people who are doing a plan or doing a program, that's kind of their mental approach. I'm going to see how it works. I'm going to give it a try. I don't know about you, but if you were going to give something a try, you're most likely in the back of your mind expecting that it's not going to work. That it's not going to be permanent. It's going to be like everything else you've done. You're going to end up in failure. Whereas deciding to become a fit and healthy person is a shift in our identity. Now, what do we know about identity? Well, as James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits, our habits follow our identity. And our identity is essentially the way we view ourselves in relationship to our goals, our peers, our society, and our world. So the way you think about yourself influences the decisions you make. And so if you want to get fit this year, you have to decide to become a healthy person. Now, it does not mean that you have to lose 100 pounds. It does not mean you have to be perfect. And in fact, healthy people are not perfect. I've been fit, I've been healthy, I've competed in bodybuilding, I've done some amazing things in my fitness career. But I've never once judged myself for not feeling like I was always on. And so when you start to get around healthy people, you realize that there's a lot of flexibility here. It's an 80% approach most of the time, right? How can I be flexible with this? And so you can start to ask yourself 3 simple questions in order to start acting like a fit and healthy person. The first question is, what would I do if I was a fit and healthy person today? Right? You can use this in any moment. What would a fit, healthy person do today? Second is, how would a fit and healthy person feel about failure or setbacks? Because you are going to have them. And in the moment, you can ask, what would a fit and healthy person do right now? And so using these questions to frame your day, frame setbacks or challenges, and also frame the present moment are going to allow you to see what's the best decision that I can make in these circumstances to set myself up to move closer to the person that I want to be. The second mindset shift that you have to make in order to get fit this year is you have to avoid negative stacking. Now, the way you do this is you start to see each decision as its own separate event. Now, maybe you're wondering, what is negative stacking? Well, negative stacking is a psychological process in which we associate that different experiences or events have compounded on top of each other negatively. And so the best experience or example of this is when you have something that goes wrong in your morning that leads to the day feeling like it's a loss, and then the evening gets worse, and then all of a sudden you've had a bad day, a bad week, or even a bad month. Now we see this happen oftentimes with our diet. Our diet will start off on the wrong foot. Maybe we wake up late because the alarm clock doesn't go off, and so we rush to get breakfast, or we skip it all together. We're cramming our lunch in because we didn't really have that much time. The meeting went long. And then we get to the end of the day and we're like, oh my gosh, today has been so stressful. I just want to say screw it. I'm just going to have extra glass of wine. I'm going to have the cheeseburger. I don't really care. Screw it. And then once you have that moment happen, you say, you know what? I've already kind of ruined my diet, so I'm just going to have the ice cream. I'm going to overindulge. And then the next day we wake up and we judge ourselves and we tell ourselves the story that we're off track. And so, hey, you know what? I'll start again on Monday. If you've ever had that happen to you, give this video a thumbs up or let me know in the comment section, because it's very common, right? We stack these experiences in a negative way that reinforce the story that we're off track. And so what you have to do is you have to see each experience, each event, each decision as its own separate moment. You have to stop entangling them together, because when you entangle them together, you feed into this old pattern and old story that says you have to be perfect, and that if you fall off once, everything's a failure. You're off track. You did it again. Whereas a healthy person sees that, hey, one meal is not me falling off track. One skipped breakfast does not mean my whole diet is ruined. Just because I had a little bit of M&Ms or a little piece of candy or even a piece of pizza or two pieces of pizza does not mean that my day is ruined. The best piece of advice that I will ever give you is that when things are not going the right way, you have to decide to not make them worse. So when your day feels like it's falling off track or that things aren't going the way that you planned, the best thing you do is not make them worse. So see each separate decision as its own separate event. That's how you give yourself empowerment and see that, hey, I am always in control of what I do. What happened beforehand, what happened in the morning or in the evening, the last meal does not enforce what my next meal looks like. Start thinking this way and it will change your health forever. The third mindset shift that you must make in order to get fit this New Year's is to stop comparing yourself to where you used to be, and instead see this as a fresh start. Now, I know this can be really challenging, especially if you're someone who used to be an athlete, or you look at where you used to be and you see that there's a mile between those 2 points. I have been there myself. In fact, I used to want to be a professional bodybuilder. I moved from New Hampshire to Los Angeles. I trained around the best bodybuilders in the entire world. Now, during that time, I realized that I quite frankly did not have the genetics or the psychological makeup to want to pursue that as a career. And so I decided to call it quits, which should have been okay. I should have been able to maintain my physique and stay strong and stay empowered and be healthy. The only problem is I got injured. And so for 12 weeks, I wasn't able to train. Towards the end of my last contest, I had to take all this time off, and I ended up putting on 30 pounds of body fat. I lost all my muscle, and it was really challenging psychologically when I went back to the gym, because my whole identity was around this physique, this athletic body that I had built. And so at first, I felt embarrassed, I felt disappointed, I felt frustrated, because it was such a gap between where I was and where I used to be. The problem was that staying in that frustrated state didn't help me get moving forward. And so if you're there and you're comparing yourself to where you used to be, you have to meet yourself today. Because your life, your body, your responsibilities don't look the same. Right? Even in that moment, I realized, like, oh, I'm not a bodybuilder anymore, so I don't have to train this way. And what was great is that mindset shift gave me the freedom to do something different. I went and started running. I remember the first time I ran a mile, I was blown away. I said, wow, I can run a mile. That's so far. And then it compounded into something that became almost like a secondary sport. I started running marathons and ultra marathons. Now, you don't have to do that, but you have to realize that comparing yourself to the past or to other people, where it used to be, isn't going to help you move forward. You can use it as inspiration, but in fact, the best inspiration is where you're going. And so if you recognize that you're judging yourself, if you recognize you're beating yourself up, or you're comparing yourself to where you were, say, hey, I'm going to start from this point forward. I'm going to move forward, and that's how you actually start making the progress that you need to in this season of life. Now, the final mindset is probably the most valuable one, and that is that you have to extend your time horizon. A lot of people focus on doing 30-day programs or 60-day fat loss plans, and it can be valuable to set a short-term goal that pushes you, but what's more valuable when you are struggling to be consistent is ask yourself the question, where do I want to be 10 years from now? Where do I want to be 5 years from now? Where do I want to be by the end of this year? Right? If you think of 2026, where do you want to be? Right? Start extending the time horizon to be years versus days, weeks, and months. And what's great is you'll start to see that you're less of a perfectionist. You're less focused on making the perfect decision right now. Now, I'm not advocating that you become complacent, but what I am advocating for is that you start to see that what you do in this decade is going to show up in the next decade too. And so what you do in your 20s shows up in your 30s. What you do in your 30s shows up in your 40s. 40s to 50s, 50s to 60s. And what you do in your 60s leads to longevity and independence into your old age. And so stop being obsessed with how you're going to look in the spring and start focusing on how you're going to feel 10 years from now. Now, you can still have short-term physique goals, and I empower you to do that. But if you find yourself constantly feeling frustrated that you're not far enough along, especially if you have a big goal like losing 30 or 50 pounds, zoom out and say, I am setting the foundation for the rest of my life. If you do that, you'll start to see that you can become a healthy person, you can take ownership of your decisions, you'll stop judging yourself so much, and you'll actually get to the point where this does become a permanent part of who you are. Now, just a short little recap, the 4 mindset shifts that you must make in 2025 in order to get fit and make this a permanent part of your lifestyle is, first, decide to become a fit and healthy person. Make it a part of who you are. Second is avoid negative stacking. Remember that each decision is its own separate event. Third, stop comparing yourself to where you used to be and focus on starting from this point forward. And number 4, extend your time horizon. Don't feel like you have to change yourself overnight or by next week. Remember that the lessons you gain right now and the habits you build right now will shape the rest of your life going forward. So I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comment section, what is your biggest insight or what is your biggest mindset shift that you have to make? And more than anything, thank you for being here, and now go out and conquer your year. Cheers.